Have you ever been talking with an American friend about school and you just get this feeling that you're not on the same page? You're both saying high school, but it's like you're talking about two totally different things. Well, that confusion is exactly what we're going to untangle today. We're diving into why the American K-12 system can feel so complicated, especially when you compare it to a super standardized model like Japan's.
So let's just get right to it. Is American high school 4 years long? The simple answer is usually, but not always. And that not always is where everything gets messy. It's this one little variable that can completely derail a simple, nostalgic conversation about your school days.
Okay, so to really understand the American puzzle, we need a clear starting point, a baseline. And for that, we're going to look at Japan's system. It's so clean and consistent, it's the perfect yardstick to measure against.
I mean, look at that. It's just beautifully simple, right? 6 years in elementary school, then 3 years in middle school, and you finish it all off with 3 years of high school. 6, 3, 3. It's clean, it's predictable, and pretty much everyone in the country is on the exact same page. So keep that 6-3-3 structure locked in your mind as we head over to the US.
All right, now for the United States. The most common setup you're going to find is what's called a 5-3-4 pattern. But the keywords there are most common, because, as you're about to see, this is where the exceptions and variations start popping up all over the place. So here's how that common model breaks down. You've got elementary school, which actually covers 6 years because it starts with kindergarten and goes all the way through 5th grade. Then comes middle school for the next 3 years. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And all of that leads into a 4-year high school, covering 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
And that number right there, 4, that's the whole problem. That's the core of all the confusion. Because if one person's first year of high school is 9th grade and someone else's is 10th grade, you're not even talking about the same year of your life. This is exactly where those conversations go off the rails. You know, seeing them side by side like this really makes it click. Both systems have the same total number of years from start to finish. But where Japan consistently bundles them as 6-3-3, the common US model just shifts the boundaries. The first 2 blocks are pretty similar in length, but that extra year gets taken from somewhere else and tacked right onto high school, making it a 4-year marathon. But here's the kicker. It's not always that simple. The real head-scratcher is that this so-called common model isn't universal at all, not even close. Depending on what part of the country you're in, the entire structure can flip. And this right here perfectly captures the reality of it. This isn't just some weird trivia fact. It's how people actually live. You can grow up in the same country, but you and your friends might have had fundamentally different high school experiences. So how on earth is that possible? Okay, so let's put a label on the one we've already talked about. We'll call this pattern A, the middle school system. Just to recap, this is the one where elementary school ends at 5th grade, you go to a 3-year middle school, and that sets you up for a 4-year high school. Got it? Now let's look at pattern B, the junior high model. And this is where it gets really interesting. See what happened? Elementary school now goes all the way up to 6th grade. That means junior high takes over for 7th, 8th, and, this is the absolute key, 9th grade. So 9th grade is now part of junior high, not high school. And what does that leave? Just grades 10, 11, and 12. And boom, just like that, you've got a 3-year high school, exactly like the system in Japan. So the words here really, really matter. Middle school and junior high are not just 2 different names for the same thing. They often describe 2 completely different ways of organizing the school years. And they are the number 1 factor that decides if you're going to high school for 3 years or 4. One thing that is pretty consistent across all these different American models, though, is kindergarten. Unlike in Japan, where it can sometimes be a separate thing, in the US, it's totally integrated. It's the official start of the whole K-12 journey, year 1 of elementary school. So the big question is, why, right? Why is it so different all over the place? Why doesn't a huge country like the United States just, I don't know, pick one system and stick with it? Well, the answer is that the whole educational landscape is constantly shifting. The main reason for all this variation comes down to local control. See, there's no single national system. Instead, individual school districts, like towns or counties, get to make their own rules. And a lot of them are kind of in between systems, maybe slowly shifting from that older junior high model to the more modern middle school one.
These changes happen for all sorts of reasons. New ideas about education, or sometimes it's as simple as not having enough space in one school building. And the result is this patchwork quilt of different systems all across the country.
So let's do a super quick recap. Japan, simple, standard 633. The US, it's complicated, with multiple systems, but the big two are the middle school model that gives you a 4-year high school and the junior high model that gives you a 3-year one. The length of high school is the main reason we all get confused. But here's the wild part. Despite all that structural chaos, everybody graduates at pretty much the same age anyway.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question that's about more than just numbers on a chart. Think about it. How does putting a 12-year-old in the same school as a 14-year-old versus putting a 13-year-old with a 15-year-old, how does that change the social dynamics of growing up? It really makes you wonder how these simple administrative decisions might actually end up shaping our entire teenage experience.